Good morning, and this is your morning briefing. Today's top story in Google News. Panel approves $50 billion for small businesses. Stimulus update. The House Small Business Committee has approved $50 billion in emergency pandemic aid for small businesses. A senior Senate Democrat highlighted comments by Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell on the weak state of the job market in his push for a longer period of enhanced unemployment benefits. 5 House committees are acting Wednesday on the parts of the stimulus bill, with 3 more planning to move on their pieces in the coming days. A further 3, with jurisdiction over elements of the package, have chosen not to have public votes and hearings, spurring criticism from Republicans. The Senate Finance Committee and other panels in that chamber are planning to skip formal hearings and votes, given time taken up by the impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has pledged to secure congressional passage of the overall bill by the mid-March expiration of enhanced jobless benefits. In futurology, farmers are having to hack their own tractors just to make repairs. Owners are turning to hacked software from Eastern Europe as farm equipment companies won't license it to them directly. Top comments. From Cast, this is why I think that there should be a federal right to repair law that includes everything. Yeah, it'll suck for companies that depends on you returning to them for repair. I mean, trying to get you in to sell you the newest product. This is why they want you to come to them when it's broken. Another comment from Dead of Nights. Not even surprised. I fix machines at work all the time and I usually called to get a price out of parts and labor to compare. The last thing that broke priced out at $1,300 just for the part and $130 per hour for labor. Did it myself in 2 hours for free with the YouTube videos help by repairing the part. To compare, I also found the components pieces of the part online for $20, just not assembled. So it's easy to imagine that farmers get a quote and they're like, fuck that. From Out of the Loop, what's the deal with hashtag Gorilla Glue Girl? I've seen a couple of posts in Reddit like this one, but I have no idea what they are referring to. Can someone please explain? Edit. I want to thank everyone who took the time to respond to this. I understand now what is the hashtag about. Top comments from Telstar was taken. Answer. A 40-year-old woman used Gorilla Glue as an alternative for hairspray, and to her surprise, she ended up gluing her hair to her scalp. She made a video which went viral in which she explained what happened to her and she had to seek medical care for her condition. So far, thousands of dollars have been donated through GoFundMe. She could pay for her medical bills. Some claims state she is considering suing Gorilla Glue because the product label does not contain a warning for hair use. Edit. The woman who used Gorilla Glue on her hair has stated she has no intentions of suing Gorilla Glue. Comment from Cuttlefish Taste Good. Answer. Here's an article about the whole thing. No, she's not suing Gorilla Glue. Yes, she made a huge mistake. A lot of things floating around are exaggerated or straight up lies. I honestly feel bad for this lady and her family from what's going on. From Science. Singapore, with almost 200,000 migrant workers exposed to COVID-19 and more than 111,000 confirmed infections, has had only 20 ICU patients and 1 death because of highly effective mass testing, contact tracing, and isolation, finds a new study in JAMA. Top comments from Mastodon. This doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It claims that contact tracing resulted in only 20 ICU cases and one death out of 100,000 plus cases. Contact tracing would reduce the total amount of infections, but it can't possibly reduce the severity of them. I think they ignored far more likely factors, such as the fact that migrant workers in Singapore will tend to be young, and also the fact that most people in Southeast Asia are thin. Comment from Holding Thunder. But that is not logical. Contact tracing and isolation will not determine if someone is sick enough to go to hospital or ICU. The person's health status or response to the virus will. Also, 110,000 over 200,000 is 60% off the top of my head. That is a huge percentage of the population to be infected, and clearly isolation was not effective for this percentage, would be significantly lower. Global Talk. Question. Does your country or city celebrate Lunar New Year? Top comments from Lutama of Finland. I think that is just an Asian thing in general, so no, we didn't. From Canadary of Canada. There are certainly groups that celebrate Lunar New Year. However, it is not an official holiday here. I expect various city or province governments may acknowledge it and issue a statement to the fact of Happy Lunar New Year. From Tech News Today. Apple Watch heart rate sensor can predict COVID-19 up to a week before a swab test. Top comments from That Bermudian. Title doesn't mention that the study also included symptom reporting such as dry cough, loss of taste and smell, etc. Comment from Alright Dill. BS. My Apple Watch still thinks I walk 4 miles at 12 a.m. Life Pro Tips. If you want to read a book or need a book for a class but don't want to spend a bunch of money, go to archive.org. About 95% of the titles I've ever searched are there in their entirety for free. Top comments from All Bite No Bark. Also, Library Genesis. From Spartan 116 Chris. Unfortunately, in my last college experience, schools make up for the fact that smart students can find a way to not have to pay for books by having tests and require an access code only included in new textbooks. I could have saved to myself hundreds in textbooks and passed my class with a solid A or B, but my teacher's curriculum locked me out of quizzes, so I had to drop out of college for the second time due to not being able to afford textbooks. YSK. When you only use male victims as talking points, you make it clear that you do not care about male victims. There is a common phenomena on Reddit where commenters use male victims of abuse as talking points and talking points alone, which is usually done to detract from topics on female abuse victims. Not only that, but it's normally the only time I ever see male victims get recognition. Disclaimer. That is my own anecdotal experience, not necessarily a fact. I'm sure there are people who genuinely do post about it and give male victims a space. Example, there is a current post floating around regarding Shia LaBeouf finally facing repercussions for his long story of violent, abusive behaviors towards his female partners. In the comments, there is at least one, well, what about the time a woman abused men? They didn't face repercussions. This type of comment is extremely common, clearly derailing the conversation. Female victims, but it clearly does a great disservice to the male victims as well, because it reduces them to shitty talking points. Male victims deserve to be seen. Their stories deserve to be heard. They deserve public support. They deserve their own time to talk about their experiences. They don't deserve to be ignored until they can be used as a derailment tactic. How would you feel if you were abused and nobody cared until they could use you for not so clever comeback? When you want to talk about the male victim and bring them justice, think to yourself, is this the first time or even gone out of my way to stand for male victims? Am I saying this because I genuinely want to champion for male victims? Or am I saying this to challenge female victims because they have historically received more of the public recognition that I want for male victims? Both deserve public recognition, so don't take it from one to give to another. You're effectively re-gifting crumbs, and that is wildly disrespectful. If you stand for abuse victims, stand for all of them, and stand correctly. TLDR, kill two birds with one stone by not derailing discussions of female abuse victims by using male abuse victims as your what about talking point. Top comments from HomesLies007. Patriarchal standards are awful, like when assumes the rapist of the male is a female, regarding that men are made to feel weak or lucky if it hadn't or if it happened to them. Epic Finn said, I totally get this point and I am not arguing against it because I totally agree. But I do not want to point out that specifically when Johnny Depp was being abused by Amber Heard with evidence, it was vastly dismissed, with judges even ruling on Heard's favor. A lot of people who use male victims as counterpoints are trying to dismiss the female victims. Yes, but sometimes it feels as if it's the only way male victims can be heard. I'm not saying, oh, but women victims have it better. But when male victims are constantly dismissed or belittled, we feel like we have no choice but to bring it up in a counterpoint. Longevity. David Sinclair's vision for the future. People living to 250 plus and having multiple careers. Top comments. Black Butterfree said, I would give absolutely anything to be guaranteed at least 100 years of life. Well, barring any accidents, murder, or natural disasters, of course. Octagon Time Machine said, looks like it was actually saying take a time machine 250 years into the future to see people living to 150, which is extremely modest. Life hacks. How to get a scientific paper for free. Top comments. Bar North. I'm in the middle of publishing one of my articles in a journal, and my mom asked how much money I was going to make off of it. I died a little inside. Gian Penn said, although I appreciate the intent, I contacted a few authors for access to their work and was told that they didn't own the rights, so they couldn't share the work. This ranged from textbooks to scientific information published by a third party. I found that very few people have the ability to do so. Privacy. Facebook and Instagram link previews would break EU privacy law, say security researchers. Top comments. Reasonable Answer says, these apps download the entire content of any link sent through them to FB. This includes links sent through encrypted channels. Commentary. I can't see this working under GDPR. Source. I'm a privacy lawyer. A comment from Rudimentary Typists. RIP to my family and friends as they are not in the EU, so this data harvesting is unavoidable. F Facebook. F Zuck. Modular Construction. Prefabrication and Modular Construction 2020. Prefabrication and modular construction are poised to transform several sectors of the construction industry. This Smart Market report examines the frequency of use of these methods, the benefits of using them, and the drivers and obstacles for wider use of them in the future. Key findings include prefabricated multi-trade assemblies. Growth is also seen among those doing modular construction, the use of full volumetric approach. About 90% report that they achieve improved productivity, quality, and increased schedule certainty.